Well, hi, good morning, Julie, and welcome to the Break Even podcast. And thanks very much for agreeing to come on today. To kick off with, can you just tell us a little bit about yourself, what you're doing at the moment, and how you then got
So
into gambling?
right
Okay,
now,
yeah,
I'm working, obviously, as you know, with Betknowmore.
yeah,
I have gone over to the training side of things. So my responsibilities now are to get all of our lovely peers, either through yourself or
yeah.
that have come through Peer Aid or other NGSN partners, to come and do our Peer Aid training, which is a 3-month program to give them everything they need to be able to become a volunteer peer supporter, and, as they say in their own words, give a little bit back for everything they've felt that they've been given and the support they've been offered by all of our charities over the time they've needed it in their recovery.
Fantastic. For people who may be listening that don't know what NGSN is, can you just tell us what the NGSN is?
So, National Gambling Support Network. We are, I feel, a wonderful bunch of charities that work together all over the UK, all regions, to try and bring awareness and support and help to anybody, may it be those in recovery of gambling or affected others that need some sort of support and help. Obviously, Peer Aid and Betknowmore are historically a peer support lived experience service. But like yourselves, there are other services with clinical therapy, and also people at Epic that throw themselves off of rocks and make you feel fabulous.
Absolutely. So, Julie, how did you get into this? How has gambling affected you, and when did it start to affect you?
Unfortunately, I have now, or I now know, I've suffered with gambling related harm for about 25 years, as I met, went out, got engaged, married,
Yeah,
bought a house, and had 2 wonderful children with a man who I didn't realise, due to lack of knowledge or experience, was already an addictive gambler.
right.
As everybody says, it was hidden, it was
Yeah,
secret. I genuinely did not have a clue. He was a very hardworking, very intelligent man with a maths degree.
yeah,
So, sort of 10 years into the relationship, when we'd had both the children, it was a massive, massive shock to find out that that really hardworking, intelligent man had absolutely blown our world apart, when he had to uh, tell me about the amount of debt he was in.
when you say he had to, Julie, why did he have to?
I think, like all gamblers who are in relationships or close relationships, might be with parents or partners, I think there comes a point where you just can't hide it anymore. You get yourself in so deep that, as
Yeah,
much as you would love to be able to sort it out yourself and hide it, you can't.
yeah,
And we were both, I was working part-time, he was working full-time, and we just didn't have any money.
yeah.
And I couldn't understand why we didn't have any money. And that sort of started a few arguments and a few questions. And in the end, he had no choice but to tell me that he had a number of credit cards that were all full up, and that we had to sort it out.
Right. So we had to sort it out. How did that happen, or did it not happen?
Well, it happened so much in the fact that gambling changed his personality massively over the years. Very slow progress at first, but obviously, once the stress value in his gambling kicked in with him, it really affected his mental health, and he changed. His personality changed. He began to be even more secretive, but within that secrecy, he became very angry. So I was quite frightened at times to ask questions, even, non-accusing questions, because of his anger. And
Yeah,
and it was a very difficult period, of debt with young children, where
yeah.
I was at the point at times where I didn't even have money to buy food.
Wow. So with all that going on, how did it affect your own mental health, and how did you feel about all this?
My mental health over this whole period had been an absolute roller coaster.
Yeah,
I I loved, um, looked up to, probably was so proud of a man that I married.
yeah,
I had we had two beautiful children. We'd bought a house. I thought I was living the dream,
yeah.
and I wasn't. And unfortunately, through this whole period, that the whole time we had him, he never admitted to having a gambling problem.
So when he
Um,
eventually did, Julie admitted it, and it all came out, as you said, he was sort of backed into a corner, had no choice. Did you then attempt to do it all on your own? Did you look for support or try and get help, or were you aware of any help?
15 years ago, there wasn't what there is
Yeah,
today.
yeah,
But I will have to say I owe a lot to GamCare,
good.
because when I Googled or looked at whatever we did then on the internet, GamCare came up. So I rang the GamCare line, and
Yeah,
I spent 2 hours probably on sobbing down the phone in my car to a lovely lady.
wow,
And she put me on to somebody that I spoke to for 6 weeks, an hour for a week for 6 weeks, again, sat in my car
yeah,
having conversations with this fabulous chap that really couldn't solve my problems back then, that he gave me a voice and he gave
yeah.
me someone to share with. So, but now obviously we're in a lot better position. But
So,
unfortunately, at the same time, I used to be finding or getting sent to me all the leaflets and support that I could
yeah,
find for gambling for him.
yeah,
And I used to leave them for him on the table. And when I used to come down in the morning, they were always just torn up into pieces and left in a pile.
wow. So obviously, this now became a family issue. I
Mm.
can hear how it affected you, how it affected your husband. How did it affect the children, do you think? Do you think they were aware of what's going on, or was it just an atmosphere they were living in?
They were living in a definite atmosphere, because when it first, there were two periods of this blowing up. One was the first time when they were only about 5 and 10.
Yeah,
And I think it had a very profound um, experience for my daughter, because she was the eldest. She was 4.5 years older than her brother. So she heard more, saw more,
yeah,
understood more. I tried to always keep it age appropriate with him. I thought I was doing my best to try and hide as much
yeah,
as I could, but I wasn't. Children
yeah.
are clever. Um, they've grown up with it. They've had it their whole lives, and unfortunately, they will be carrying the legacy of it
Yeah,
for the rest of their lives. My daughter did have a bit of a breakdown when she was 21 due to the
yeah,
pressure,
sure.
um, but we are resilient and we are fighting hard, and I'm very, very proud of both of them
Taking
today.
taking you back to that horrific time. Um, I've met you a few times. I'm really aware of your knowledge of gambling, your knowledge of what to do and how to do it, etc. What was that knowledge like in
I
it
had
must
to
have been
find
gambling.
yeah, I had to find my own. I grew
Yeah,
up with two fabulous parents. My dad was self-employed. My mum worked
yeah,
as a secretary. Financially, we had good years and bad years. So I grew up knowing if
yeah,
it was a good year, we'd have a good Christmas and a holiday. If it was a bad year, it'd be a simple Christmas and perhaps not a holiday. So I grew up respecting money. Um, I know the pools man came every Saturday. I remember that. That's the only memory
yeah,
of gambling I have. That man knocking on a door on a Saturday in his old coat and hat,
yeah,
and my mum and dad handing over a pound or 50p or whatever it was back
yeah,
then to do the
yeah.
pools, and that was my knowledge of gambling. Um, so when I found
That's
out
actually
about
probably
it,
three decimal. That was probably like
it
10
probably
shillings or
was
something. Yeah.
steady. I was born in 1970, Ian. Um, but I did find it really crazy when I found out, because I didn't understand it, and
Yeah.
there wasn't the information out there. I mean, there weren't the adverts about gambling on television and radio like there are today. It wasn't in your face like it is now.
Yeah, I
Um,
mean, in those days, you had to go and find gambling, whereas today, gambling comes to find you. because it's, as you say, it's so normalised and it's everywhere.
Absolutely.
So when this first hit, I mean, going back, you said he tore up all the leaflets. So even with sort of having to tell you about the debt, etc., he still didn't want to do anything about it, no?
No, because it was his money and he could do what he
Yeah,
liked with his money. And
right.
basically, most of it was blamed on me. The coercive control and the mental and verbal abuse became daily. And I was in obviously a massive stage of vulnerability. I was lonely. I hadn't told anyone on this first occasion. I was isolated with two young children and no money,
Yeah,
petrified we were going to lose everything, ashamed of bringing this into my family's life. And there wasn't much at that time I could reach
yeah,
to help.
yeah,
And unfortunately, he ended up then getting arrested for his first assault on me.
right.
Um, and that was when his mental health obviously was
Yeah,
really becoming affected. And um, we then separated for 6 months, and that's when it all came out, and my family
yeah,
found out. And
yeah,
my daughter was in the first few weeks of high school, like her first year, year 7. So it was a really important year.
yeah,
And unfortunately, I was assaulted by him late at night. He had left the home. My daughter had run out the house and alerted a neighbour. And we were, the police came, and he was bailed back to this house. So we had to leave for 3 weeks. I had to go to my parents 30
wow.
miles away. So my daughter lost 3 weeks of the first year of senior school. So by the time she came back, they'd all made their peer groups. They'd all got their little nicks and like
Yeah,
cliques,
sure.
and she didn't stand a chance. And it was from then on that she was majorly affected by
Yeah,
what had happened to her. My son, being that little bit younger, thankfully
yeah.
took less at that time.
Sounds like such a sad story, Judy. I mean, I've heard you speak about it many times. I'm also aware what a sad ending there was to this story. Can you
Mm.
talk a little bit about that?
So we separated for that 6 months. We There were things in place that he couldn't contact us or talk to us, but towards the end of that 6 months, I started answering his phone calls. He promised all was good, all was going to be okay. He was going to sort it all out. Could he come back? He missed me, he missed the kids. And I valued my family, I valued my marriage, and I love my husband.
Yeah,
And I thought I was going to come back to a situation that was going to get better. And it
yeah,
did for about 2 years.
right.
And then it just blew up massively. And we hit lockdown. And it probably was, I know lockdown was awful for so
Yeah,
many people,
yeah,
but I was shut in the house with two now adult children because my daughter had
yeah,
to come back from uni. My son was
yeah,
15, and
yeah,
we lived in a house contained with a compulsive gambler of 12 hours a day. He was then drinking as well. It was like living in a house of eggshells, and we lived upstairs for most of it, or just went out walking with the dog because it was just,
yeah,
the atmosphere was awful.
yeah,
And then, unfortunately, again, my daughter went back to uni. His mental health continued to plummet. Nothing would help him. Everything was my fault. And I was assaulted again early hours of one morning. And our 15-year-old son had to get in between us to take his dad off me. And then his dad just collapsed and went to sleep. And I thought, the house was already flagged. So I rung the police and said, listen, we're okay. He's asleep. We're good. But if anything happens later, I just wanted to let you know that, because we're flagged. Anyway, within 10 minutes, there were 6 policemen at the door and they took him away. And when they took him away, all I heard him say was, can I say goodbye to the dog? And they didn't let him, which I was really pleased, actually. It was a silly little thing. And then he was on remand for 3 months during COVID. And then he was released. And for 10 months after he was released, he absolutely bombarded our daughter with phone calls, text messages. She was in Brighton, trying to get to me, using her to get to me, which obviously broke her in the end. And then, very sadly, in November of 2021, he paid a visit to her on the Sunday, and he tried to get her to come in the car with him, and she didn't know where she was going, and thankfully she refused. Wow. Their last conversation was not a good one, sadly, and he came away, and then a few days later he came to our home, and in front of myself and our 15-year-old son, he took his own life. So I feel weirdly that he's at peace now, because he was so tormented by everything that he couldn't control. I wish he'd have listened. I was working in the gambling harm space at this time, part-time. I actually I was working 80 hours a week because he'd left us with nothing. So I was working 12 hours shifts at a dementia care home because it was the only job I could get during COVID. So I was doing 3 or 4 of them a week. I had 2 private jobs caring for other elderly people. I had my part-time lovely job with Gambling Harm UK at the time. And it was just crazy. It was crazy times. It was, I even look at it now and it feels like a film. It doesn't feel like real life.
Yeah, and that's the only saving grace here, isn't it? I mean, I've known you really well, and I don't associate you with your story, in a good way, because you do what you do. And obviously you put your life and soul into that and made a massive difference in this space, which is really, really appreciated by everybody. How's your son?
Do you know what? My son is neurodiverse.
Yeah.
And he's the best. And I've often said, and I don't mean this in any kind of detrimental way, if I could be neurodiverse, it would be amazing, because that boy has managed to put all these things he has had to have trauma support, he has had to have counselling, but even in his own mind, he's put these things into perfect boxes.
Yeah, that's a great asset that a lot of neurodiverse people have, isn't
can
it?
do.
Compartmentalised. And I hear what you're saying. I wish you could have done that as well.
Yeah. Exactly. And if I could have done that, it'd have all been great. It has taken its toll on our lives, and COVID ruined his future. His dad didn't help. But again, so proud of our, the 3 of us have got like this triangle of strength.
I mean, it sounds like a story, Julia. Listening to it again, and how raw it must still sound for you, and how brave you are to actually keep telling that story. We know the data suggests there's over 400 suicides a year related to gambling harms. Do you
I believe there's many, many more?
Yeah, because we don't know how they get identified or what identified somebody with that, and people actually talking out about it. Do you feel that if we would have been where we are today, it might have been a different ending? Or or listening to how you tell your story so vehemently, it sounds like with all the help that was out there then, or the help that certainly more help out there now, that he really didn't want it. He wasn't in that place where he was ever going to ask for help.
I sadly believe if he was offered the world, he wouldn't have taken it, because for whatever brought this on in his life, and I generally believe that everybody that has some form of addiction has had some trauma, setback, disappointment, something in their life that fundamentally affects them, and then they want to do better.
Really, you're talking my language there, because I'm a firm believer in the problem underneath the problem.
Oh, it is.
And if you can by luck or by opportunity sort out the problem underneath the problem, hopefully that makes things easier. But if you don't do that and don't want to do that, then it's impossible.
Absolutely, I totally agree with you because like I said, there is a fundamental. You don't wake up one day and decide to throw your life and finances away.
Yeah,
It
absolutely.
happens gradually and it happens without you realizing it. And, as I said, he was a very intelligent man, but it still got him.
Yeah.
So, as we say, it can get anybody. There's no discrimination.
So, Julie, I'm aware you're part of an affected other program. I know at Break Even we have a Wings group, which is
Yeah.
Women in Need of Gambling Support, and the one for affected others is really, really well populated. It's really grown. I know you guys do something similar to at Betknowmore. And can you tell us a bit more about the affected other group, and obviously with your experience and how you lead that, or what you put into that?
Well, we currently are doing a lot of work on updating and changing our program. But I've heard great things about Wings. People that I've spoken to, affected others that have come through and used your Wings program, have said great things about it. And we're looking now to do a program for affected others that is up to date and it's ready and right for today because
Yeah.
one of my biggest experiences within this space are affected others don't believe or feel that they need support. I've had people say to me, I haven't got an addiction. It's not my problem. They don't understand how much it affects them because they see the other person or their loved one as the one with the addiction, the one that should have support. What they
Mm.
don't realize is if they had support too, it can help. And I think education and awareness around addiction is so important. And
Julie,
our
again, you're
program,
so
sorry,
talking my language. Sorry to interrupt you, but you're so talking my
no,
language because Breaking have been going over 25 years. We're probably the biggest treatment provider in the network, if you take what we do. And I still cannot believe that we still see less than 20% of affected others. Although
absolutely.
we continually tell them, I mean, Wings is a big help to get affected others in, but in the groups you do, but we really need, keep on sending that message out there because
We have
we
to.
should be seeing more affected others than gamblers. And to
There
see
are
less than a
10
fifth is
times more
unbelievable. Yeah,
affected others, like you said,
absolutely.
and they need to be made aware that we
Yeah.
are here. They need to be made aware. And I said, we've got to reach out further. As much as I love the NGSM, we've got to reach out further. We've got to find these people and let them know, men, women, brothers, sisters. We've got to let them know that we're here for them. And if they,
100%. And
and if they don't know,
yeah, 100% agree with you. And with the new world coming soon,
mm,
maybe we'll all get an opportunity to really shout that from the rooftops.
well, I do my best wherever I go.
Julie, I think after that really powerful story, I want to thank you again for coming on. The difference you make, the way your family have reacted, and how you've all come through this and do what you do, totally amazing. I'm in awe of you guys, and God
Oh,
bless
thank
you.
you.
Thanks again.
Thank you so much, Ian. It was lovely to be able to talk to you.
Thanks.
If you or someone you know is affected by gambling related harm, please call us on 01273 833 722 or visit our website www.breakeven.org.uk. Alternatively, please call the National Gambling Helpline on 0808 8020 133. Please ensure to like and subscribe to all our social media channels and keep this message out there. Thank you.